So up next, Christine Brigiato will be interviewing Christian Sarkar, the co-founder of Regenerative Marketing Institute, and Leoluca Orlando, former mayor of Palermo. They're going to ask what is needed for a city to become truly regenerative, and Christian and Leoluca hopefully have us some insight there and concrete examples and research from their book, Regeneration. I'm Justin Brady. This is Drucker Forum TV.
Hello, and thank you, Justin. My name is Christine Brigiato, and as Justin just mentioned, we have another amazing interview coming up here. I have two wonderful guests joining me here in the studio, live at the Vienna Hofburg Palace. Let me introduce to you Leoluca Orlando. He's the former mayor of Palermo. Welcome,
Hi.
Leoluca.
Thanks for this invitation.
Thank you. Palermo is the capital of the Italian island of Sicily. For those of you who don't know it yet, you should definitely get to know it. Also with me in the studio, I have Christian Sarkar. He's the co-founder of the Regenerative Marketing Institute. Welcome to both of you again. I saw you yesterday on a panel here at the forum on regenerative cities, and I'm actually curious also for our online viewers. It seems like a broad term, or like a big term, let's put it like that, regenerating cities. And Christian, let me maybe start with you. I want to make it a bit more practical.
Sure.
For your book, Regeneration, you did a lot of research and you picked out Palermo as a very good example with many initiatives and projects running there that are regenerative. Can you give us a practical example of what that means?
Sure. The beauty of Palermo is that it's not part of it's sort of in the south. So it's the south of Europe with the north of Africa, as the mayor says. And what we found in Palermo were different kinds of businesses, different ways in which people were working together in the absence of big budgets and big sort of investments. So they were doing things that we had never seen before, even businesses with new business models. For example, I'll give you the story of Lucia Lauro, who's in the book. Lucia Lauro was a kid, 15 years old, when she saved a bunch of girls from being human trafficked. She went to school, she had to hide after that. And for a second, I need people to understand that Palermo was run by the mafia. It was, the downtown was unlivable without water or electricity. The opera house had been closed for 20 years. The harbor was full of silt and not being used. This man, Leoluca, pulled it out of the ground and brought it into and turned it into one of the safest cities of Italy today. And what you see is a community of local businesses, local brands working together to build up the city. So it's been a very locally focused regeneration. So it's not maybe regenerating cities, but how does the city regenerate itself by empowering and bringing together these bubbles of trust.
Interesting, bubbles of trust. So we are regenerating the community, or it's a very community-based approach, a very local approach as I understood it. Leoluca, as the mayor of Palermo, how does one go about this topic? How did you as a mayor go about supporting these initiatives, supporting a regeneration approach?
I think that I started sending the message that to change is possible. There is a very traditional Sicilian expression saying, "Cu nasce tu non può morire quadrato." I have to translate into Italian, then into English. Who was born round cannot die square. Wrong. Who was born round can even die square. And I send the message that to change is not only possible, but even convenient. Not only possible, even convenient. And Palermo changed it. You can imagine, Palermo is a city of the south, not of South Italy, not South Europe, south of the world. Therefore, we have a link, we have connection with Medellin, with Beirut, with other cities of the south. And being a city of the south of the world, we are rich of alive contradictions. We are aristocratic and popular, we are noisy and silent, we are dirty and clean. We have to govern this contradiction. We are a migrant and people born in Palermo. They all have to live in harmony. And what I did, I sent the message to change as possible, and I have to say thanks, not only the bodyguards, the police protected my life in fighting against the mafia, but first of all the women, the children, the people just like people Christian is speaking about. They started from the bottom. They send a message to the states, to the north of the world, to the people who imagine that only finance is important and only finance is convenient. Humanity can be convenient. And we have to say thanks to the mafia. It's terrible to say that because the mafia killed too much and people was obliged to react. It was not possible any longer not to see, not to speak, not to hear. You know that fear can produce subalternity, but fear can produce revolution. In Palermo, fear was so big that people reacted and said, basta, enough is enough. We don't want any longer to live governed by the mafia. And he was elected with 75% of votes because I appeared just the symbol of possible change. And from that moment, we can say proudly, mafia does not govern the city of Palermo. We gave the honorary citizenship of Palermo to persons condemned to death. People say, oh, the mayor fighting against the mafiosi. The mayor just building the Aula bunker to celebrate the Maxi trial against more than 400 mafia bosses. Now he gives honorary citizenship of the city to a criminal condemned to death.
I would like to just say this was actually very interesting because you talked about the fact that there was so much fear going on because of the mafia that was there and there were terrible circumstances happening. And I believe this might be a very hard process to manage. And on yesterday's panel, you mentioned something that really intrigued me. You mentioned that the management role of a mayor is quite different to other management roles. Could you give us a brief remark on that? What did you mean by that?
I just published in those days a book by Rizzoli, the biggest editor in Italy. The title is Enigma Palermo, Enigma Palermo. And I speak about the politics, the fear, the future. We need to pass through the fear to build the future. And we need to pass through the fear to build the future, starting from freedom from fear. And we, finally, when conditioned not to be able to support so great fear. But don't forget, even people in North, they need to have fear, but they are not conscious. May I speak about the fear for climate change?
Yes, please, for a brief
May I speak
remark.
about the fear for climate change?
Sure.
It is not only for the South, even for the North. But people in the North imagine that climate change is a problem of poor people living in the South. No, my dear. In many cases, the North is responsible for climate change, but North will be destroyed by climate change too. And I think that to send a message that it's possible to connect roots and wings, roots and wings, is the future. And I gave honorary citizenship of Palermo to persons condemned to death. One of these guys, condemned to death in Virginia, in Richmond, before dying, asked to me, as last wish, may I be buried in Palermo? He's buried in Palermo. It's the only city, Palermo, where he's buried a persons condemned to death. We fight against criminals, but even criminal human beings. We have to respect their right to live. And we organized the largest gay pride in South Europe. I was the first mayor celebrating the union of two homosexuals. And we welcome everybody. If you ask me how many migrants we have in Palermo, I don't reply 90,000, 100,000, I reply no one. Police in Palermo is Palermitan, and I just wrote the Charter of Palermo, yes, in German edition, Carta from Palermo, where we demonstrated that to welcome people is convenient, even for security.
There's definitely a welcoming culture in Palermo, a welcome culture, as you could call it, very progressive ideas that you actually bring to the ground there. And I would love to continue with you, Leoluca, but I want to ask a final question to Christian. We have such a short amount of time.
Before passing to Christian, don't forget, Palermo is today a touristic city.
Yes.
Millions of persons come, they feel safe because Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist living in Palermo, they feel at home, they defend their home. The terrorists in Palermo are not safe. They cannot come because when a terrorist comes in Palermo, the Muslim living in Palermo call the mayor call the police, and the terrorists go away.
It's a peaceful place now, thankfully. Christian, as a very brief final remark, we're running out of time. What is something from your research that you did in the book, you researching Palermo, knowing it so well by now, what is a takeaway that we can all get as individuals on how can we be more regenerative and therefore more resilient?
Sure. So we look at sustainability, then we look at resilience. So sustainability is being green, recycling, blah, blah, circular economy. That's not enough. Resilience is fortifying yourself against the crises that are coming one after the other. And regeneration is understanding and preventing and adapting and then, again, thriving past the crisis. And the way to do that is regeneration doesn't happen without regeneration of the common good. And this is what I think Leoluca's message was, in a sense, bringing together all these people around the common good. We don't have a government or a leaders that work for the common good. Not even in our companies. They work for us.
We need to bring together the common good, and I think these are some great final words. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas here. It's a very community-based approach. I think our community can definitely take something away from this. I want to thank you, Leoluca and Christian, for coming into the studio.
Thanks.
And
I tell you just one word,
really
one word. The mayors are not administrators. They are something like an educational agent. The mayors have to educate the people.
The mayors have to educate the people. I think there was a great final remark from Leoluca Orlando. Thank you, Christian
Sarkar. And the people have to educate the mayors.
Of course.
Thank you so much. You can see
it is so-called democracy.
We could talk on forever.
Democracy.
We now have our next program points coming up. I will be at the red carpet in just a short moment, so make sure to check back in for that. Thank you very much for watching.